Hello and welcome to Coach Hoots' Hot Corner for the week of January 25th, brought to you by bchornetsports.com. After some weeks of some cancellations and some makeups, we're back this week to give you some information on Brown County sports. I'm Coach Jared Hoots, and on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about the last couple weeks, catching you up in the Hornet sports scene. We're going to talk about what's to come this week. And on the high horse, we're going to talk about how an athlete grows or having patience with sports development. Our Lady Hornets basketball team spent only 2 days at the CSC Lady Classic before Mother Nature had other ideas. The Hornets only played 2 games there. The Hornets won their first game 33-26 over Unity. The Hornets played a good defensive game, and Belle Cook scored 10 points to lead the Hornets. Then the Hornets lost 45-43 to a very solid Illini West team. In the game of runs, the Hornets came up just short on the stick that night. The Hornets defense held the Chargers to 13 second-half points, and Belle Cook scored 15 in the loss. After that, they tried to make up the tournament a couple days, but it ended up getting canceled due to so many schedule conflicts and trying to make up the games. The Hornets were back at home and got a win on senior night by defeating Rushville 72-19 on Thursday. The Lady Hornets made sure seniors Emma Volk and Casey Dunlap got the win in their last home game at the Nest. Dunlap scored 16 points. Courtney Law also scored 16 in the win. Our girls are currently right now 15-7. This week, our Lady Hornets will be on the road in Pike County. They will travel to Barry on Tuesday to take on Western, setting at 3-15. Then they'll be in Pittsfield on Thursday to take on Jeff Shireman's 16-8 Lady Sockies. This should be a big week for the Lady Hornets to finish strong to get a good seed for the regional. Now let's take a look at the conference standings. Taking a look at the WIVC girls conference standings, Route still has a stranglehold on the conference lead, sitting at 5-0. Right now, Route's a 20-2 win team for the year right now. Carrollton is sitting at 3-1, and West Central is also at 3-1. Brown County is at 3-2. Greenfield Northwestern 1-4, Calhoun 1-3, North Green 1-5, and Triopia at 3-2. Taking a look at the overall records, Route with a 20-2 record has the best overall record in WIVC. Then Carrollton comes in at 16-4, Brown County at 15-7, Greenfield Northwestern at 14-8, North Green is 15-13, Triopia is 13-10, Calhoun 6-15, and West Central's 7-11. So right now, out of the WIVC girls teams, only 2 teams set right now with not double-digit wins, which says a lot about the girls' conference right now. Yeah, the boys round here. The boys' basketball team lost 68-47 to the number 1 seed and eventual tournament champions West Central. The Hornets made some good runs to cut in the Cougars' lead, but just couldn't overtake them. The Hornets were led by Nathan Hendricker with 13 points. In the third round, the Hornets lost 59-48 to Route in the 5th place bracket. The Hornets trailed at each stop of the game. The Hornets were down 5 at half, 25-20. Then Route extended their lead to 7 after 3 quarters. The Hornets made some runs, but all-tournament selection Corey Ronan proved to be too much in the end for the Hornets. Nathan Henniker led the Hornets with 13 points in the game. The West Central Cougars repeated as the tournament champions when they beat Payson. Porta ended up beating Calhoun for 3rd, Liberty beat Route for 5th, and Triopia beat North Green in the consolation championship of the 98th annual Winchester tournament. The Hornets were lost to Triopia 45-38 when they returned to regular conference action on Tuesday. The Hornets struggled from the field in the loss to WIVC opponent Triopia. Garrett Bell took over the second half for the Trojans and led them to victory. The Hornets lost to Calhoun 52-42 at the Nest. The Hornets were down by 1, 20-19 at the half, but struggled to score in the third quarter. The Hornets let fly some 3 bombs to try to get back in the game, but the Warriors maintained a healthy lead by making free throws down the stretch. Nathan Henniker led the Hornets with 24 points. The Hornets were supposed to play North Green on Friday, but due to the snow, it has been rescheduled for February 5th at the Nest. The Hornets play 2 very tough Adams County teams this week. On Tuesday, they're at home versus 20-1 Payson, and on Thursday, they travel to on Friday, they travel to a 15-6 Liberty to play at the Eagle Nest. Let's take a look at the conference standings. On the boys' side of the conference standings, right now West Central holds a perfect 20-0 record, and they're 5-0 in the conference. Route right now is at 15-5, and they're also a perfect 5-0 in conference. The West Central Cougars handed Calhoun their first conference loss, dropping their conference record to 2-1 and at 14-4 overall. Triopia comes in at 3-1 at 11-7 overall. North Green is 9-10, and they're 2-2 in conference. Carrollton is 4-11 and 1-3 in the conference. The Hornets right now are 7-9 and 3-2 in the conference. Greenfield Northwestern is 7-9 and 2-3 in the conference. And right now, Griggsville is 3-15 and 1-4 in the conference. Pleasant Hill and ISD both set at 0-4 and 0-3 in the conference and have yet to win the game on this year. Taking a look at our junior high boys season right now, it's getting ready to wind down, and currently our 7th graders set at 18-4 and received the number 1 seed in the Liberty Regional. The Hornets will play on Monday at 6 o'clock against either Triopia or Southeastern in the semifinal match. If the Hornets can win that game, they will play on Thursday at 6 in Liberty for the championship. Our 8th grade record right now is 9-13. They have received the 4 seed and will play at home versus Liberty at 10 o'clock on Saturday. The Hornets will host the 8th grade regional, so good luck to all our junior high teams out there in the next coming weeks. On this week's High Horse, we're going to talk about patience with sports development, or seeing the big picture. In my next 2 High Horse episodes, I'll be talking about my main 2 things that I'm most passionate about when it comes to coaching. The first one is patience with development. What I'm talking about is here in our fast food society, we want our kids to be successful at everything they do right now. We forget about failure as a great teacher or motivator of success. How do we come back from failure, or how do we change things after we suffer from it? I think these are 2 big things that we lose sometimes in the development of our athletes. The baseball clinic I attended this past weekend is called the I-70 Clinic. It is in Greenville, Illinois. Each year they bring in some big-time speakers, and it's well worth the price of admission. One of these speakers that talked this year is Darren Finster. He is the Red Sox outfield and base running coordinator for the whole minor league system. He's also a big in youth development. He talked about the 4 pillars of player development. The first pillar was confidence. This included learning the skill and building the technique. This is your fundamentals. Take, for example, shooting a layup. If a player goes over the proper way to do it and then continues to do it until they have a feel for it. It is very important in this stage to be very encouraging. This is very new to the athlete, so make sure you have fun with this stage, because if you don't have fun with it, it is easier for him to quit this stage. The next stage he talked about was adaptability. This is how they learn through failure. This is the figuring out phase. He showed a group of 500 baseball coaches a video of a skateboarder trying to do a trick with 2 skateboards. You may wonder why he chose a skateboarder. In this video, the skateboarder fell over 100 times, but each time he tried something different. As the video went on, you could tell that the skateboarder's mind was working and feeling how it should be done. And then the skateboarder finally did it. I think in today's learning for young kids, it is too structured. Now believe me, I'm all for organization, but if I'm talking youth, it's like 1st through 6th grade. Parents need to try to give the kids too much feedback instead of letting the kids figure it out. I've come to find out if you let the kids learn the skill when they look frustrated, that's when you step in and give them advice. If you're continually talking to your kid while they perform, they will tune you out, or worse, be a robot to your voice and cannot think for themselves. My best example of this is Little League baseball games. When little Johnny comes up to bat and everyone in his family is shouting instructions at him, like watch the ball, swing, and my favorite of all time is keep your elbow up, kids can't focus on the task at hand, hitting the baseball. And hitting an object is one of the most difficult tasks to do. If we let our kids adapt on their own and they can give themselves feedback of what they did right and what they did wrong, you develop the next pillar, being an instinctual player. Your kid will develop an instinct for the game. They will start making plays before they happen and anticipate what's coming. A player's first 2 at-bats, he gets a first pitch fastball and he hasn't swung at it, so the 3rd time he looks for that first pitch fastball and hits a home run. The player anticipated the fastball because he was able to think on his own, relax, and then put the play in motion. The last thing he talked about was being competitive. I'm a firm believer in this. I'm a highly competitive person myself, and I think that's what the world is also. The everybody gets a trophy world, I don't agree with. In players' development, you have to play for something to learn competitiveness. I think this is the biggest thing that competitiveness teaches is resiliency. I think a lot of people teach competitiveness, but they don't teach resiliency. Resiliency is the ability to bounce back after something doesn't go your way. A lot of times kids want to quit or make excuses when things didn't go their way. I think it's the easy way out. Sometimes the other person or team is better than you on that night, but it's how you come back from that loss. Do you learn something and do you fix it? Or do you play the blame game? Do you blame the official? Do you blame the coach? Do you blame mom and dad for not bringing you the right Gatorade? He also talked about the Fortnite factor. He says it's not that the kids are playing it, it's competitive. But kids would rather watch other kids play the game than themselves. So this should be included to show other kids playing the sport or the game, then other kids will also want to play with them. In closing, every kid develops differently, so don't compare your kid or athletes with somebody else. I've had many kids not be the best player on their junior high team, but they're the best player on their high school team. But then I've also had kids that are very good all the way through the school. I've had some that love baseball but fell in love with football when they got to high school. I think Garrett Cole put it best. Obviously, Garrett Cole, one of the best pitchers in baseball right now, if not the best pitcher, said he never wanted to be the best player in Little League or the best player in high school, but he wanted to be the best Major League player. That was his goal. So let that sink in. I have a saying that I put up on my lineup sheet for my Little League teams that I coach. And it says to teach the kids to love the game and they'll play forever. It doesn't say to be the best athlete out there, we have to win, or try to be the best one out there. Because if they love doing something, they'll try their hardest, they'll listen their best, and most of the time, they'll have a lot of success doing it. This has been a production of bchornetsports.com. This is Coach Jared Hoots signing off. Get out and support your BC Hornets this week, and remember, make sure you're living life like a 3-1 count. See you next week.